Are we taping? We're taping. Hi guys. Welcome back to yoga. It is, well, you're going to be seeing this on Saturday morning, but it's actually Thursday afternoon, and I felt like I needed to do some yoga myself, so I figured I might as well make it a class to share with you guys at the same time. Gorgeous out today, right? Like, I can't stop looking out the windows and smiling because it's so nice out. And it's going to be 80 tomorrow. 80 tomorrow. I already told my kids that we are ditching school for a while, and we're going to try to hit the beach super early before it gets inundated with people, and try to be home by like 2 so we can pick up on school where we left off, but still feel like we had a little mini reprieve from the house and from Cedar Grove. So that's our plan for tomorrow. So I hope you guys are well. I hope everyone's feeling good and healthy. And do you see me? I can't stop looking out the window. I'm going to focus. I thought today we would play with forward bends because I love forward bending. I love lengthening my spine. I feel like I can't stretch my back out enough, even though I don't have back issues. Especially lately with all the walking and walking up and down hills. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like when I walk up a hill, I lean into the hill, and I think I'm putting a little bend in my low back and not even realizing I'm doing it. So by the end of the day, when we've done 4 or 5 miles, my low back feels crunched and kind of like an accordion, like that. So that's what I want to try to alleviate with forward bending. And there's a variety of ways that we can forward bend, and it always feels good. And forward bending is one of those groups of poses that when you forward bend, you also do other things like lengthen the hamstrings and release the shoulders and the back of the neck. And just a lot of goodness can come from consciously forward bending. So that's what we're going to do. I got some really good feedback from the last class, the class where we paid attention to the 4 corners of the feet and worked on our foundation so that we could tackle poses from the ground up. It seemed like it was a class that you guys liked and enjoyed. Specifically though, tell me specifically, like Janine Patel, you said that was your favorite class. Tell me specifically why, so that I can figure out how to take elements of that class and incorporate them into different classes so that you can have more than one favorite class. I don't want you to have one favorite. I want you to have lots of favorites, but be specific and tell me, Janine, why that was your favorite class. I would appreciate that very much. So, okay, forward bending. We're going to start the same way we always do. You guys get on your backs, arms out, palms up, just find your breath and sit with that for a few minutes, okay? Find your breath. In through the nose, out through the nose. I don't know about you guys, but allergies the last couple days have been crazy, like off the charts crazy. So if that's you as well, you might be a little bit stuffy and you may have to work a little harder to nose breathe. And if it's super uncomfortable, then just don't do it. Just use your mouth and mouth breathe. But try to find a soothing breath. Let's see, what I mean by that is try to find, when you're little, or I don't know, I still do it. We have a big conch shell here in the living room that we got in the Bahamas. But when you take a big conch shell and you put it to your ear, and people tell you that sound that you hear, that white noise sound that you hear in between your ear and the shell is supposed to be the sound of the waves in the ocean. You kind of want your breath to be meditative like that sound. So when you're listening to your own breath, you want it to soothe you. You want it to relax you. You want it to center you. And as you're lying here, that's really all you're doing is focusing on your breath, focusing on the sound of it, focusing on the way it feels, and acknowledging that you're a little stuffy from allergies and your nose is a little funky is totally part of the process. So it's okay if that's not working and you need to open mouth, old man breathe. That works too. So lie on your backs, arms out, palms up. Find your breath, close your eyes, let your mind wander a little bit here. I feel like I'm talking a mile a minute. I don't know why. I've only had like 2 sips of my Crystal Light Energy citrus drink. So it's not the caffeine, it's just the good weather, I think. I will try to chill. Nice deep breathing. And you know, by now, if you're newer to yoga and you've only started practicing with me here in quarantine, this is our 17th class. So by now, and even if you're not newer to yoga, but you've always just gone to classes and done what you were told to do, you know, it's really important that you personalize your yoga practice. You've got this person who's telling you what to do, who's studied this and has certificates and trained, and that's great. But you know how you feel, you know how your body feels, you know what you need. And little by little, you should start to be able to tweak what I'm telling you or what any yoga teacher is telling you and personalize it so that you get the best experience, like the most bang for your buck. And it's a class with other people, but at the same time, it's just your class. So if I'm telling you to lie here on your back with your arms out at your sides, palms up, and that doesn't feel good for you, then just ignore what I'm saying and do what feels good for you. If I'm telling you to pay attention to your breath and feel your breath as it moves through your body, maybe you have to do what we did the other day and spread your fingers out on your low belly and feel the breath. Feel the balloon inhale, feel the balloon exhale. You know, maybe there are certain things that we've done in other classes that I don't necessarily do in every class, but you really liked and it really resonated with you, and you want to pull that into every class you ever take. So do that, right? Yoga's not a cookie cutter activity, and everybody's different, and everybody needs different things out of their practice. But I can't give you that. I can just give you the general guidelines. You have to personalize it for yourself. So in the beginning, I always start the same way with my students on their backs, arms out, palms up, breathing, thinking about their day for a second, trying to feel grounded and connected to the room and to the people and to me. But I also would encourage you to take it beyond that and make it what you need it to be. Okay, so we're just gonna lie here for another couple seconds, and then we're going to go into a twist and do a couple other things down on the floor, and then we're gonna move into some forward bends, a variety of forward bends. And a lot of them will be very familiar to you, poses that you're very familiar with, but we're just gonna bring a forward bend to it, which might be new to you, might challenge your balance a little bit, or you might find really boring and crummy. But stick with me, because forward bends will always leave you feeling good, I promise. Okay, so eyes are closed, palms are at your sides, arms are at your sides, palms up, unless that doesn't feel great, and then you should switch it up. And you're going to pull your knees into your chest using only your core muscles, and then drop the legs. On an exhale, drop the legs to your right, and pay attention to your left arm. You want it straight out from the shoulder, through the fingertips, down on the ground. Okay? I'm gonna move back and sit because I feel a little manic right now, like I'm super in your face. I don't know where I even put my drink. Here it is. Okay. It will. Nope. I'm talking to Cam. He's in the next room trying to do a Zoom. Hasn't started yet. So I may need to check on that in a second. Let the knees drop. Let them be heavy. Remember that you always have the option of taking the right hand, anchoring down the top of the outside of the left leg, and just really intensifying the twist by anchoring the leg. You don't have to, but it's just an option. The left arm, however, you want straight out at your side with the palm up. And this is a twist that targets mid and low back, a little bit of the back of the hip, which is more like the back of your butt cheek. I just heard his Zoom go on, so you might hear him a little bit too. I'll talk louder.
Yeah.
All right, swing your legs up to center. and come on into a happy baby or one hand on each kneecap, whatever you prefer, whatever feels best. But let me just caution you with this. When I give you options of things to do, sometimes you may be tempted to take what seems like the easier option. Don't get stuck in a rut where you always take the easier option, because chances are you're perfectly capable of doing the other option, but you get used to doing the easier one, so in your mind that's just what you do. So one hand on each knee is fine, but if you think you can do a full happy baby and you just never choose to, give it a try and see how it works. Right? Cameron, Cam, shh. He's my loudest kid ever. All right, bring your knees up to center if you didn't already. Drop them over to the left. Right arm out at your side, palm up. I love this visual, unrolling your arm like a red carpet. So you've got the legs over here. The right arm is what you're paying attention to. You unroll it from the back of the shoulder blade out through the fingertips, and you try to keep it flat on the ground as you're trying to keep the legs on the left side stacked. Inner knee to inner knee, hip over hip, the hiccups, arch of the foot over the arch of the foot. And again, if you want a little more weightiness, take your left hand, put it on the outside of the right knee and anchor. But keep the right arm as flat as you can on the ground. I was using my mat this morning. Some of you know the saga of my mats if you've taken live classes with me for a long time. This mat is the mat that I did my teacher training with about 15 years ago. So it smells, it's stinky, it's a little bit discolored. It's got like weird areas where there were name tags on it from different workshops that I did, and there are literally chunks of the mat missing. But I was doing some stuff on it this morning, and at one point I was in child's pose and my face was smushed against my mat, and I was thinking about something that a friend of mine said about how there are things that ground you during this time, during this situation. You know, like when you feel like this is never going to end and the world's always going to be crazy, there are things that ground you. Like maybe it's talking to someone specific, maybe it's reading a poem or reading your Bible, maybe it's taking a walk outside. But for me, one of the things that grounds me is the smell of this mat. And I know that sounds kind of gross and skanky, but it's a very familiar smell to me. It's a smell I've been smelling since before I had my kids. It's a combination of sweat and a little dirt probably, and just, I don't know, it's just a scent that I love. And I think that's why I have such a hard time every time I try to switch a mat, because they never break in as easy. They never smell like this. They never get this soft and are this familiar to me. So if you've got a mat that you love, cherish it. The more you use it, the better it'll get. And if you get 15 years from it, like I have with this baby, consider yourself lucky. All right, bring your knees up to center. Happy baby, or one hand on each kneecap, but keep in mind what I said about not choosing the easier pose if you think you can do the other one. If it's too much, then by all means don't do it. But don't take the easy way out if you can do the bigger version. Bigger version's always going to feel better in my opinion, but that's just me. That's just me. Cameron, shh, a little bit quieter. He doesn't know how to be quiet. Okay, so what I want you to do now is come on over onto hands and knees. Y'all, I'm still wearing my new pants. I mean, I've washed them a couple times, but they're definitely growing on me. I wish I could not be inappropriate and show you how high-waisted they are, which I love. I'm thinking I need to cut out the built-in belt, though. That's what's throwing me. So, fingers spread nice and wide. Check your elbows. Inner elbow crease facing in, right? Not hyperextending and facing me, facing in towards one another. Feet can be out flat behind you or curled under. I don't really have a preference, but I do think if they're curled under, then you're engaging your calf muscles, and I think any time you can engage muscularly is better than not engaging. But we're just gonna do a couple cat and cows here, right? So drop the head, inhale, press the spine up. Exhale, arch your back and look up. Inhale. Exhale. Perfect. Keep going. Moving on your breath. Okay, come to your tabletop position. Let's just lengthen our right leg out behind us. Curl the toes under into the mat and press out through the heel. So I don't know if you can see it, but my foot is down on the mat, kind of in a lunge foot, and I'm pressing out through my heel and I'm feeling it through the whole back of my leg, which feels really, really good. And then bring that knee in, same thing, other side. Toes are curled under, pressing out through the heel of my foot and feeling it in the back of my knee and all the way up. Okay, knee back in place. So now let's change things up for a second and really energize our upper arms with a couple of, I call them girl push-ups. I don't really know what they're called, but push-ups on your knee. That's the only way I can do push-ups. But let's just do maybe 10. So walk your knees back, bend up at the knees, so your feet are up off the ground, and we're just gonna do a quick little set of push-ups to warm us up, okay? So you don't have to go very far. Elbows are bending out to the side. 9 and 10. And then from here, we're gonna press back into a wide knee child's pose, which is our first forward bend. So knees go wide. I get to go down and smell my dirty mat. Arms are out in front of you, forehead or chin to the floor, or remember you can always stack and bring your head down that way. Find your breath. And come on up. So get your hands in the right place, front corners of your mat, elbow creases facing in, curl your toes under. You're gonna lift up into downward facing dog, drop the neck, drop the heels, put a little bend in the knee, okay? Inhale and come on up. Release your neck, maybe turn your head from side to side. Look underneath your armpits, right? Look underneath the right armpit. Look underneath the left armpit. Inhale forward into a plank. Engage the core. Anytime you engage the core, you support the low back. Press back into dog. Come up high on the balls of your feet. Bend your knees. Press your hips back towards the wall behind you. Straighten the legs. And then drop the heels. So from here, we're going to walk our feet all the way up and come into a standing forward bend at the front of our mat. You can take little steps, big steps, do whatever you want. Just walk your feet up. Cross your arms at the elbows and forward bend. Drop the head, drop the back of the neck. So when you're doing your forward bend, I don't know if you just saw me do that wiggle, but what I usually try to do to create more space and bend deeper is suck it in, right? Engage the core, and then try to shimmy your chest closer to your thighs. So every time you engage the core and suck it in, you're creating a little bit of room there. So see how close you can get. Release your hands to the floor. Lift your toes. Walk your hands under your feet with the palms up. And then drop the neck. Lean your weight into the balls of your feet so you feel like your arms are pulling a little bit out of your shoulders. And then walk the hands out and inhale up to a flat back. So inhale, extend out through the crown of your head, exhale and fold. Inhale up, exhale and fold. One more time, inhale up, exhale and fold. So left foot is going to step back behind you about 1.5 feet, not a real big step. And you're going to angle the toes out to the side, but not straight out to the side. Angling them more towards the top left corner of your mat. You want your hips to still be able to be squared off towards me, towards the front of the room. So hips are still squared, right? We're going to forward bend over the front leg. And as we go, we're going to lift the toes on the front foot so that we ignite all the muscles on the outside and inside of our calf. Forward bend, drop the head, keep the toes lifted. That challenges you in the front leg, but it also muscularly engages you. So you're not just flopping into a forward bend, you're muscularly engaged and consciously doing it, igniting muscles at the same time. Nice deep breath. Inhale up to a flat back here. Exhale and fold. Keep the toes lifted. Inhale up, flat back. Exhale and fold. One more. Inhale up. Exhale and fold.
Sun and rain.
Now we're going to step the left foot back up to meet the right, coming into a standing forward bend at the front of our mat. Noticing that the right leg feels a little bit longer and looser through the hamstring area. We're going to cross arms at the elbows and hang. So engage the core. Do that little wiggle and see if you can fold deeper in through that low belly section. Release the hands. Inhale up, flat back. So before I was flat backing with my fingertips on the floor. For those of you that prefer to do it this way, we'll do it this way together, okay? Exhale and fold. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. One more time. Inhale up. Do you hear how stuffy I am? Forward bending is making me stuffier.
I did it.
All right, now the right foot's going to step back about 1.5 feet. And again, the toes are angled more towards the top right corner of my mat versus straight out to the side. Square the hips, forward bend, lift the toes up on the front foot. Inhale up to a flat back here. Keep the toes lifted high so that that leg is really fired up in the back. Exhale and fold. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. One more. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. Release the toes. Step up with the right foot. Cross the arms at the elbows and hang.
I'm working on it.
And then we're going to release the arms long and roll up vertebrae by vertebrae with the head being the very last thing to come upright, okay? Adjust my pants as I go, and then we're all the way up. So that was a lot of forward bending, but not too much. But you might feel a little bit of a blood rush, which is a good thing, right? So now to incorporate forward bending into some poses that we know, we're going to mostly step back into our poses today since we're already up at the front of our mat. And I think if we've got some newer people with us, that's how people feel most comfortable and most steady. So we're up at the front. Our feet are hip width and parallel. Remember we said 2 fists is usually hip width. So if you can fit 2 fists between your big toes, you're good. All right, so we're just going to step back with the right foot coming into a long lunge. And for most people, you can usually take up most of the length of your mat here, right? So we're in a lunge from the waist down. We're in a high lunge because we're upright. And to make it a forward bend, we're just going to bend over our front leg. We can bring our hands down to the floor. We can bring our hands to the inside and extend out through the crown of the head. But anytime that your chest, your belly, your heart are kind of on your thigh, you're in a forward bend.
I lost it.
So that's why this is a forward bend. Heel is high, bend in the back knee, bend in the front knee. Nice deep breath work here. And then grounding down through the left foot, the 4 corners of the left foot like we talked about the other day. We're going to move our hands out in front of us a little, put a bend in the back knee, step that foot all the way up to meet the left, and come back into a forward bend. Inhale up, flat back.
How do you spell snowy?
Exhale and fold. Inhale up, flat back. Exhale and fold. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale and fold. So we're not going to come up. We're just going to step back into a long lunge with the left foot.
The thing's blocking it.
Hands come to the inside of the right foot. We're in a traditional lunge from the waist down. And we're just going to bend into the lunge over the front thigh. So fingertips can stay on the ground, or they can both be on the inside, whatever you prefer. Press out through the back heel, but keep a bend in the back knee.
How do you get into the chat?
Now, straighten out through the front leg a little, put a little bend in the back knee, step it up. And we're back in our standing forward bend. We're going to cross at the elbows and hang. Engage the core. I don't know if you can see what I do when I do that, but I forward bend. I engage the core, which is also sucking it in. My Nana, before every picture ever, used to say, suck it in, suck it in. So I suck it in, and then I do a little wiggle, which makes me go deeper. So forward bend, suck it in, engage the core, do your little wiggle, and fold deeper into the pose.
Not a computer.
All right, we're going to come all the way up to stand slowly, head being the last thing to come up.
It's windy. I know it is.
All right, take a minute, let the blood flow back down. Does your back feel better? Mine always feels looser, and honestly my head feels a little bit clearer. Like I'm not thinking of a million things. I'm a little bit more focused, but I'm definitely more stuffy in my sinuses. So I'm gonna go from here to do my neti pot, which means as I take the dog on our next walk, I'm gonna be dripping water like a weirdo all over the sidewalks.
W-I-N-D-Y.
So, all right, we're gonna do some seated forward bends now. So get your blanket or your towel, put it on your mat so that you can sit up on the edge of it, and then slide off a tiny bit so that just your tailbone is elevated and you're sitting super straight and tall. Okay, so let's start with our legs out long in front of us. So if we haven't done this before, which we probably have, take your hands, reach underneath your butt cheeks, pull your cheeks out to the sides so that you're sitting up on your sit bones and you feel really, you feel like an elevation under your tailbone that enables you to sit up super straight and tall. Okay? I didn't tell you to get your straps, so we're not going to get our straps today, but here's what I want you to do. I want you to flex your feet, press out. So I hope most of you that are doing this also did the class on Wednesday. Press out through the four corners of your feet. So that's your big toe mound, your pinky toe side, your inner heel, and your outer heel. So my toes are pulling back towards me, and I'm pressing out through my heels and the big toe mound. So even though I'm just sitting here talking to you, my legs are really engaged muscularly from my feet all the way up to my knees is what I feel. He's almost done. The screaming's almost over, I promise. He's so loud all the time. Cam was a preemie. Keep engaging your feet. Cam was a preemie, and he was in the NICU for 119 days. And I made a good friend when we were in the NICU. Her baby, Angelina, was next to Cam, and Rebecca and I would sit together every afternoon and visit with our babies and visit with each other. And she's since become a nurse, and she's amazing, and she's a great mom and a great wife, and I will never forgive her or forget that the day I took Cam home, he went home a little bit before Angelina. The day I took Cam home, I used to visit more like morning and afternoon because I had a 4-year-old at home that was hanging out with my dad all day, and my mom would go to the NICU with me. But Rebecca used to visit sometimes when I was there, but also later in the day when her husband was home from work. And the day I took Cam home, she said, he is the loudest screamer at night. You just won't even believe it. And I remember just looking at her like, what? And sure enough, we got that baby home. We had never spent a night with him. The lungs, the loudness, the shriekiness, god awful, and it's never, ever, ever gone away. Never gone away. It's like NICU residual. So if you're still pressing out through the four corners of your feet, your legs should be getting kind of tired, which is a weird thing since you're not really doing anything except you're doing so much, right? So inhale the arms up. You're going to hinge at the hips, not drop the head, but reach your chest towards your feet and come into a forward bend, seeing what you can grab. If you can grab the feet like I am and pull them back, press the back of your knees down into the mat, flatten out through the back of your knee, hug the kneecap into the bone like we talked about the other day. If this is too big of a forward bend for you and you're here somewhere or you're holding your pants, that's all good. Whatever kind of forward bend you can do, you just want to lengthen out. See, I just did it again. Suck it in, engage the core, and then give a little wiggle and fold deeper into your forward bend in that new space that you've created. And then find your breath, right? That's the tricky part sometimes. Alright, so if you are holding your feet like I am, here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep the engagement, but I want you to hold the left foot with the right hand, the right foot with the left hand. So you're crossed over in the forearms. Don't let your feet roll in. Engage them enough that you're pressing them out to the sides. Take a big breath in. Suck it in. Engage the core. Find a little more space, and then pull yourself into your bend. Alright, so release and come up. So that's so much muscular engagement in a very simple forward bend that it's almost shocking how exhausting it is when you're done, right? Okay, so we're going to massage out our feet a little bit. We're going to bend the left foot in, right leg out. Using our thumbs, we're going to grip our foot
It's just a cut that hurts.
And we're just going to press, make circles, maybe do each individual toe.
Bye.
Thank God he's done. They're ending their call right now.
Okay.
Have any of you ever done Times Square yoga?
Okay.
It's usually around June 20th on the summer solstice, and it's yoga classes free held in the middle of Times Square. And the theory behind it is to get so into the moment of your class that you can tune out all the chaos of one of the busiest spots in the whole world, Times Square. That's what this class was like. It was Times Square yoga. You guys just did Times Square yoga in my living room. All right, now we're gonna switch feet. Extend out the left, pull in the right, thumbs, make circles, go into your arch a little bit. It's not the same as getting a really good foot rub, but it'll do, right? Do each toe. Hear the silence? How different? Crazy, right? Just do whatever feels good on your feet. That's all you want to do right now. Okay, now let's go wide and do one more forward bend. Flex your feet. I think my feet are out of the camera, right? But I'm doing the same thing. I'm pulling my toes back and pressing out through my heel. I'm engaging muscularly through my legs by the four corners of my feet. So you're going to sit up high and tall on your sit bones. Arms come up. Exhale. Reach with your heart towards me, right? Reach your fingertips towards me. Don't just flop. And then come down to where you're comfortable. I know some of you can get your head all the way to the mat. I was never one of those people. I can get my forearms down and I feel good about that, but that's as bendy as I can be with this pose. Nice deep breath in. Exhale. One more inhale. And one more exhale. Come on up. Keep your legs wide and keep pressing out through the four corners of your feet. That's going to be something that now that I've opened that can of worms that I'm going to talk about a lot with you, because it's super important and it really just makes your poses that much more physical. And I don't think anything bad can come from that. So unless we specifically do like a relaxing, restorative kind of a class, I'm probably going to mention the four corners of the feet quite a bit from now on. Okay, so let's open up our shoulders while we're sitting here, but let's keep the legs engaged by pulling the toes back and pressing out. So right hand to left shoulder, left hand to the back of the right elbow. Press the arm into you. So the right hand is kind of sliding down your back a little bit. Find your breath, right? Even when you're doing a pose and you're not just lying flat on your back, you want to breathe consciously. Exhale the breath. And one more inhale. And exhale. Now let's do the same thing. Left hand, back of the right shoulder, right hand to the back of the left elbow. Press the arm into you. Find your breath here. Now, before we transition to you being on your back, we're going to just cat and cow a little bit more, because when I do, I've probably mentioned this to you before, but when I do specific poses in my own practice, like forward bends, or when I teach them, I like to counterbalance them. So rather than have you do a back bend, since we're kind of in a nice relaxed place, we're just going to do a little bit of a cat and cow, so you get a little bit of the back bend, but it's not going to disturb us too much right now. So spread your fingers nice and wide, curl your toes under if they're not, and start to move on your breath. Okay, we're gonna do this for about a minute, so maybe a little longer than usual, but I want you to super exaggerate your movements and try to feel this all the way into your tailbone on both the inhale and the exhale, okay? I don't know about you, but this feels so good. Especially this part, the exhale part, when I'm arching and looking up, I can just feel this in my whole lower back, and it feels like a really good release. That's what you want your yoga poses to feel like. You want to feel like when you're on the exhale part of the pose and you're settling into the pose, like you're releasing something. You always want to feel like your body's kind of like sighing a sigh of relief that you released something. I know that sounds hokey, but that's how it should feel. Let's do a couple more. One more set. One more inhale. One more exhale. Arch the back, stick the tush out behind you, and then go into one final wide knee child's pose, and that'll be our last forward bend, okay? So knees go wide, big toes touch, arms out in front of you, hips press back behind you, and I'm gonna come down and enjoy my stinky mat. I hope your mats smell as comforting and stinky as mine does. All right, guys, come on up, make your way over onto your back, settle yourself right into your comfortable position for Shavasana, whatever that may be. My best friend was so sweet this morning. She, I think, was desperate for an outing. She lives in Nutley, and she asked if I wanted a Starbucks because she'd be super happy to drive it up here. I think it's getting to her. But I got to start my day off. I came back from a walk with Cam, and I got to start my day off with my favorite iced tea lemonade on my front porch, and it was delightful. But now it's gone, so now I've moved on to Crystal Light Energy Citrus, which is the best I can get in the store, that has just a tiny bit of caffeine, just enough to keep me from getting a headache, which I'm not proud of, but just enough. So lie on your backs, arms out, palms up, find your breath. We haven't done a back bending class in a while, so I think our next class will be a back bending class. I'll give you lots of options, so you can make them bigger or smaller depending on how comfortable you feel with back bends. But back bends are good for what ails you. And if you're a little bit nervous about back bends, that's okay too, right? We're supposed to do something every day that kind of makes us nervous so that we know we're still alive. So back bending next Wednesday. Let's do our 4 H's, right? So press the back of your head down into the ground and really connect with whatever it is you're lying on. Your mat's on a rug, your mat's on a rug on a hard floor, or just on a floor, but really connect. Just gently press the back of your head down into the ground. And then move out to the second H, which is the back of your hands, right? If you're in the big T, press down the back of your hands into the mat or into the ground and feel that connection. Yoga is about so many things, but honestly, as we're going through this experience of COVID and quarantining and stay-at-home orders and virtual yoga, I'm realizing more and more for me about how yoga is about connection. I've said it a bunch of times, and I'm so thankful that yoga translates virtually the way it does, and that we've been able to have classes and I've been able to teach because even when I had my kids, I never really missed a long period of time where I didn't teach. I've been very, very fortunate in my career as a yoga teacher that I have taught very consistently for 15 years. And so if I had a couple months where I didn't teach, I think I'd lose my mind a little bit. But I'm finding through this experience how much I miss also the community of being in a room with 12 students or 50 students and watching them move and listening to them breathe and having a little bit of conversation back and forth, and just the energy that the practice of so many people in one place creates. I really, really, really miss that. So that's been eye-opening to me. I mean, I've always known that I loved teaching, but I just love the anatomy. I loved talking about the anatomy. I loved figuring out how to make things work so that everyone felt good. And as much as I've always enjoyed all my students, I didn't realize how much I loved the community until just recently. So I'm glad that this works, this platform, but I'm definitely looking forward to being in a real life space with yoga students again. So the third H is the back of your hips, right? So kind of like snuggle your tush down a little into the ground. You can't really press your hips down unless you're going to come into a happy baby or something, and I don't want you to do that. So just kind of like snuggle into the ground with the back of your hips, which is also your butt. And then move down to your heels, the fourth H in the four H's. Press the back of your heels down into the ground. Connect deeply through the back of your heels. And then take just a couple more deep breaths. Just a couple more breaths to kind of close out your practice, close out this moment in time that you sectioned off for just you, right? Your self-care. Maybe take a moment to set an intention for the day, right? It's Saturday, so you've got the whole day in front of you. Your intention can be to clean out a closet you've been ignoring, or maybe go on a longer walk than usual, longer bike ride than usual, maybe jog instead of walk, or maybe your intention is to read a book for the whole entire day in a chair somewhere outside in the sun. That sounds heavenly. My best friend and I were texting last night, and she was like, I finished a whole book in one day. And I saw that as like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky. That's awesome. I don't think she felt that way. I think she felt like she should have been doing other things. But, sometimes you just, especially in this weird world that we're living in, like, if you want to lay on the couch all day and watch Dead to Me, then do it. Who cares, right? Who cares? So set an intention for your day, whatever that is. And then when you're ready, either roll over to your right side and press yourself up to sit, or hug your knees in and kind of cannonball roll yourself up. Hands come to your heart in prayer. Fingers are spread nice and wide, and the backs of your thumbs are pressing into the bone right in the middle of your chest. When you press the palms together, the elbows elevate a little bit on their own because you're muscularly engaging your forearms. A lot of muscular engagement today, right? Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale the breath. Inhale. Namaste. Thanks, you guys. Thank you for taking the time to interact with me and play with me. I I like to refer to yoga as adult playtime because yoga should be fun, right? There shouldn't be anything super heavy or serious or, strict about yoga. It's just fun. It's like when you're 5 and you take a gymnastics class and you have no idea what you're doing, but you just have a lot of fun and you're excited to be with your friends. That's what yoga should be, right? It should just be fun. So, thanks for joining me today. I hope you feel better now than you did when you first started this video. I know I do. And I hope you have a really good weekend. Stay healthy, and I will see you again in a couple days, okay? Thank you guys. Take care.